that there's that sense of comfort in peeling back those layers so you can get out of them that they're going to share a wonderful story.
My story is not important. Like, who am I? Why would you want to know anything about me? And how do you then change the mindset to, it is your story that matters?
It's important to me. There's other people too that may not realize how important their family will be and the stories until they can't access them anymore.
Welcome to the Empowered Elder Podcast.
Many professionals, especially in their second act, know they have wisdom, experience, and value to share. But in today's digital world, visibility can feel overwhelming. Video is everywhere, and yet for many, it feels intimidating, time-consuming, and uncomfortable. And here's the bigger concern. According to a study by the Legacy Project at Cornell University, nearly 90% of family stories are lost within 3 generations and are not intentionally recorded or preserved. That means the wisdom, lessons, and lived experiences of one generation can quietly disappear if they aren't documented.
For many experienced professionals, and especially those later in life, showing up on camera isn't just a marketing decision, it's personal. It's vulnerable. Research also shows that intergenerational storytelling, it strengthens identity, resilience, and family connection, especially for the younger generations who benefit from knowing where they come from. Stories don't just preserve memory, they build belonging. Today's guest, Lisa Mars, believes the video isn't about performance, it's about presence. As co-founder of Mars Media LLC and a lifelong storyteller, Lisa helps individuals and families capture their essence on film, not just to grow a message, but preserve identity and legacy.
We're your hosts, Tasha Beckman and Nicole Rabalato, and this is the Empowered Elder Podcast, where we talk about home, heart, and the next chapter of life. Let's get started. Tell us your story. Where were you? Who were you before you got into production and all of the things?
Yep. My background is in social work. So my degree is in social welfare. And I spent a couple of years working in the industry. So my heart is totally in helping people and serving. Because of my husband, that I got into video production. So his degree is in TV production and theater. And because of that, he said one day, he goes, Lisa, I've been thinking, I'd like to start a company. I want to do video. Are you with me? I'm like, of course, honey, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. And of course, I'll do video with you. And that was the beginning. And so we got started and have over 30 years now filmed a lot of different kinds of events. And I tell people we do it all as long as it's legal and decent. Very important that I add that. But we have a great time. And it's truly a service to work with people and give them something that will obviously last a lifetime. And if it's for business, it helps them sell, tell, educate, motivate, and celebrate and make money. That's great too. But our heart is just really in working with people. So I've been able to, as my backstory, still work with people and serve through doing the video that we do, which is great. I love it.
Clearly.
Just a little bit. I'm not too excited.
Was storytelling always a part of your life, or was that maybe something that you discovered a little bit later on?
You know what? I love that question. Thank you, Nicole. Yes, it's always been a part, and it's because of my parents. My dad famously told us many stories growing up of his childhood and things that he experienced and family history pieces that were important to him. And my mom has been the family historian for both sides of the family. She does a lot of genealogy research, has always taken pictures and video. And so I guess I came by that rightly. And marrying that to the serving through video, it just is natural. I love the story behind the story. Because for example, a picture, which is worth 1,000 words, right? Just tells you that moment in time. But the video is like, they say online, it's what is it? I wrote it down. It's over 1.8 million words is the value of video in 1 minute. If you think about it, the emotion and what it's worth. So, yeah.
Wow. That's a huge impact.
Oh, it is. Especially from a marketing standpoint. But when you think about it from a family standpoint, all that's wrapped up in that video is priceless.
Do you think it's because your mother was the historian? Do you think it would have been a different look for you and for growing up if that wasn't how it was growing up? Like you had insight into seeing things through a different lens that maybe the rest of us don't?
Perhaps. I think it's also just natural curiosity too, because of going into social work and studying a lot of psychology and helping people. Doing that really is about getting to the core. What is the core issue that someone deals with? What is it that makes them tick? What is it that will help them get to where they want to go? So that's kind of the questions I guess I'm always asking.
When you ask that, what core values are in your mind and in your process that you keep forefront all the time?
Oh, I totally value family. I value faith. I value things that probably a lot of people don't value. I'm really into antiques because of the history aspect and because it was special to someone else. So because of that, I think that all ties in to knowing if it's important to me, there's other people too that may not realize how important their family will be and the stories until they can't access them anymore or until they have the questions and their family's not there to answer them. And that happens, unfortunately, way too often.
Yeah, if we don't ask the questions now, they get lost.
Exactly. Yeah. And when someone that we love passes, there's that whole line of their experiences, their stories, their perspectives. It's kind of like, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, the old story of, I always cut the ends off the ham because my mom did it. And my mom cut the ends off the ham because her mom did it. And then you find out the reason they did it, it wasn't to make it taste better or cook better. It's because it wouldn't fit in grandma's pan. Right. But you wouldn't know if you didn't ask, right? So it's all about finding out the story behind the story.
And you had mentioned a background in social work. So did you even envision yourself as an entrepreneur or did that identity just evolve over time? Like, did you ever envision that?
No, I didn't. In fact, when I married my husband, I was just like, whatever, we're going to take on the world. It's a new adventure, right? So no, I had no idea, but I embraced it with, okay, this is part of the adventure. When I moved across the country and said I do, this is part of it. And it's been really rewarding because I think one of the most rewarding comments I got in a thank you card from a client was when they said, what you do is so amazing. Thank you. You gave me my family forever.
That's nice.
And it made me cry because wow. It just meant a lot to me, for sure.
And you're doing it together too. So that makes
we do
nice
it together.
Mm-hmm. Nice journey.
Yes, we work together and we still love each other and get along, which that's a miracle, right? Most people, they don't do that.
Was the legacy filming always part of the plan, or did that come later?
It kind of evolved. I think when you set out in business, you do have a business plan, but those things evolve as times change, technology changes, the needs of your clients change. And I think it came from personal experience, which that's where a lot of great things come from, right? So I definitely found myself when my grandmother passed, we were very close. I found myself gravitating to every bit of film I could get my hands on that I had her in. And I didn't have a ton. And I thought, oh my gosh, I got to change this. So then I started filming more of my family. And then the nice thing is now we all can do that with our cell phones. We all have access that we didn't have for years because we didn't have the equipment laying around the house, right? So that started me on that journey. And then I filmed my parents. And unfortunately, my dad passed 4 years ago. But that, oh my gosh, that means so much to me, as well as all the little snippets through the years that I took when, they'd visit with our boys when they were growing up or just family events. So I would say that was the start of it for sure.
Do you think that there's been, because like you said, today we have cell phones and we have the ability to be on video like that, right? But probably, I think about maybe my mother's time, like they didn't have that ability and they weren't always on video. And it was not something that she was maybe accustomed to, or maybe that generation didn't have that comfort with that. Do you find that it's sometimes difficult to have those conversations or have somebody who may be in that generation that is just not comfortable with video? And how do you make that transition with them to get them to feel comfortable?
I think it starts first with the family member realizing I really need to do this for sure. And then having a conversation, because that was one of the things that I even talked to my mom about in detail. I said, so if you were to suggest to somebody to do this, what would you want and what would you ask them to ask or tell them to ask? And I think it is important to have that conversation of, are you okay with me filming you? And some of that comes from candid. Like, for example, around holidays, just people film at holidays, weddings, parties, all of that. And it really shouldn't start just later in life, but if possible, get snippets throughout life. And then tell them why you want to do this. Share with them from your heart, Mom, Dad, this is important to me because I love you and I want to hear these stories and I want my kids and my grandkids to hear them. And then just ask them what they want to talk about. What are they comfortable with? What is the setting they're comfortable being in? That all plays a lot to it as well. Us women tend to be very nervous being on film. And so they may not want to be filmed unless they look just right. So being respectful of that. And then doing small snippets of time filming, not make it sit down for hours at a time. That can be exasperating for sure.
So do you think they always need to know that there is recording going on?
That I think you probably agree with me that sometimes you get the best content more organically and just in casual conversation. I think it depends on the situation and what you're talking about. I know my mom did not have a camera and get to film, for example, her grandmother, but she did sit down with an audio tape many years ago, back like in the 80s, I think. And she had her tell her whole life story. And she was game for it because she wanted to share. I have tried that with some family members with video, and they've said, I'm not comfortable with that. And I respect that. And yet there's other times, just again, if we were talking a few moments ago, if it's at a party, a family get together, a wedding, whatever, I think people are more understanding that's going to happen. There's going to be moments to film, and that might be a good time to grab those candid clips. And even, I'll give you another example, cooking. Each family has traditions at the holidays, certain things they might make. Go up and ask them, say, hey, I really want to keep this recipe on hand and how to do it the way you do it. Are you okay if I film parts of this while we're doing this together?
That's a good idea.
And I think they would probably be open to it. I did that with my grandmother. She was notorious for making noodles. So I did get that on film, her recipe. And then with my mother-in-law, her famous cinnamon rolls. So if it's around an activity, I think people are more comfortable versus, sitting there and staring at the camera.
Well, especially with the recipes, because it's how you follow the recipe, not just the recipe itself. In some instances, like you say, cinnamon rolls.
Exactly.
Right? There's a certain thickness to roll it to and how you roll it out and all of that.
Correct.
That's the art to the cook.
Exactly.
Right.
And you're catching that person in their natural moment of what they do and how they do it. And I think they're more, I know with my experience, they were more comfortable talking because they weren't just having to stare at something. And if you think about it too, all of us have become, I think, and I would say, our loved ones as well, are probably more comfortable being on camera when they're not being told they're on camera, because we are each on camera at least 70 times a day, everywhere we go. Videos everywhere. Whether you're at a traffic stop, you're in a store, the bank, post office, wherever you go, we're on camera. So they're probably used to it. They're just not used to having to perform.
Well, and I think we may be used to it because we're not aware of it, right?
And right.
But do you think it's more the being uncomfortable with the technology or being uncomfortable with the vulnerability to be on camera?
I would say it's a little bit of both, but more so the vulnerability. That is something that my mom really stressed. She said, I wouldn't mind doing it in more detail, and I would tell people the same if they had the questions in advance. She said, there's something about knowing what you need to say so you don't feel like you look and sound stupid.
However, I would give a counter argument to that, because when I was in college, I asked my grandfather to just tell his story about life and the farm and, going from the soddy house to the built home and all of that. And he literally wrote it down on a yellow pad of paper, and you can hear in the audio this whole thing with the paper going on. And you can tell he was nervous about reading the story, right? So I think there is something to be said for the organic conversation versus the scripting.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
So I think questions, yes, but you still have to prompt it in a way that pulls out the other ideas.
Well, like what we're doing now.
Exactly.
We had a general idea of what we're going to talk about, but not detailed questions. And I think that's where it's up to the person who's recording their loved one to know who they are and know what, again, goes back to what we first said. What do they really want to get out of the conversation? And to be able to comfortably go a little bit deeper and start pulling back those layers of what they really want to know.
Or pull the memory of,
Yes.
Hey, grandma or mom or best friend, I remember you telling us a story way back when about whatever, right? And pulling that into not just the by rote conversation of question, answer.
Absolutely.
And for somebody who doesn't like to be on camera, you had said something about like pulling back the layers. So it's not like, let's jump in and let's have at it, right? So it's kind of like slowly going into it, whether they are making fresh pasta or they're doing something, a recipe, you're kind of going in it with a little bit of ease so that there's that sense of comfort and peeling back those layers so you can get out of them that they're going to share a wonderful story with you.
Absolutely. And again, it's all about a conversation. It's all about just hanging out with them, talking. What's really cool, and this goes back to talking about values and things that they enjoy too, they do have stories. For example, the heirlooms that they have sitting in their house, the pictures, the painting that's been passed down through the years, the piece of jewelry. Why not have them talk about that and get a little snippets of that on film as well? And that's really valuable too and I know you guys have had this in your conversations with guests before, let's say they have to move, they have to downsize, they have to get rid of things. They're going to be talking about, no, I don't want to get rid of this because this reminds me of when we first got married and this was the first piece of furniture we bought. And this over here, my grandmother gave me. Those kinds of things, those are great moments, not only to get on film for your own posterity and their legacy, but it can help them release it because they have it. They have it on film. They can go back and look at it, and they'll feel a little bit better about letting things go because they still have it.
That's a perfect example. I loved how you tied that into our previous conversations and how taking that, you're right, when somebody wants to let go of something, you've got it on video and you can always go back and refresh by looking at that piece.
Well, in fact, I go back to my parents' experience because we are products of how we're raised as well. And I'm so blessed that I saw them, for example, when their parents moved after both my grandparents had passed, they went through the house and they filmed the house, what it looked like, the rooms exactly as they were before they brought in, okay, we're going to take this and give this to so-and-so and that and do an estate sale or whatever. They had it on film as they wanted to remember it. So that's another option, is that people can go in and film before they move and remember what it looked like. And I think, honestly, that helps the loved one as well, because especially if they're moving, say, into a new retirement community or to a new place, they're going to miss what they had, but they can go back and see it. They can be there again in that film. Film is beautiful. It's like this time capsule that takes us back. So I love it.
Do you ever see a hesitation in someone who just thinks, my story is not important? Like, who am I? Why would you want to know anything about me? And how do you then change the mindset to, it is your story that matters?
That can definitely happen, and it does happen. And I think that, again, comes about through a very organic conversation, just chatting and just going deeper. And that could be tied to issues of maybe they don't remember and they're not comfortable. And if that's the case, what sometimes works is you start talking about TV shows they remember, or you talk about places they went when they were a teenager, what was their dating like, or whatever might fit that conversation. And then they might start to just roll. And it's really about knowing, again, who you're talking to and what they're comfortable talking about and what you want to get from the conversation, and just gently go there. And you'd be surprised how it comes out.
Have you ever struggled with, with visibility, or has it always been natural for you?
Oh, yeah, I'm very comfortable. Can you tell? I'm loving this.
Have you always been like this?
Nicole, this is not very fair. I'm usually behind the camera. We've already established
you're doing
that.
a pretty good job, so I'm just saying. Yeah. Because you have to make people feel comfortable.
Right.
So you must have some sense of being comfortable with being visible so that you can help others understand and how they can come out and open up to the camera. So you've got a little bit in you. So
that's the empathy. That's my heart going, I get you, girl. I get you, man. I'm with you. I feel your pain. I really feel your pain. I would say it's being sensitive. I really try hard when I'm talking with my clients or my family or friends and in, again, conversation, to really listen. It's a lot of active listening. It's listening like you guys are doing in between the lines, where you want to go with the conversation, and knowing where that person's comfortable, being sensitive to where they're at. And again, keeping it at a time frame that they can handle. I find little snippets with people, they'll talk more than a lot at one time, because it can be overwhelming, especially if it's a trigger to something they don't want to remember or something that brings up a painful memory. That, yeah, you just have to be really aware.
And you're pulling out that vulnerability.
Yes.
Sometimes you might not realize you're going down that path, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, let's dial it back a little bit.
Exactly.
Well, and I think we find when we have interviewees that they want it to be perfect. They feel
I don't
like
know what that feels like at all. This is me being real, guys.
Right. And that's the reality of what everyone wants to put on film, right? It needs to be authentic and real and as imperfect really as possible to make it connect, right?
Exactly.
So I think that the hesitation sometimes is, I'm not camera ready. I don't have the makeup and the hair and the this and the that. And why would you want my story? And, it's really about staying curious and pulling that out from someone about what is important for family or friends to know about my preferences and what my life was like and maybe why I am the way I am today.
Exactly. Right? A lot of the work that we do in any of our client settings, and when I'm talking with my family, has a lot to do with the work before the work. It's the pre-production part, like what you guys did preparing for today. It's the same thing someone would do when they're preparing to talk to a loved one and get them on film, on their camera or in front of a professional, whatever way they do it. It's about that conversation and about really wanting them to be comfortable, because that is important that they're comfortable. Because if they're not, you're going to get, I don't have anything to say, and it's just going to be not a pleasant experience for anybody.
What are the kind of 3 small things that they can do to start the journey?
Great question. As far as from the person wanting to share their story or being resistant, or the person wanting to film them?
Yes, both.
Both? Okay. Just want to make sure I understand. The first thing would be, every family has stories that are signature to their family. So to find out what those are, and then find out what is it that I really want to know that mom hasn't told me about when she met dad. I need to know what that is. Was she engaged to someone else before dad? Really? Whatever it is that you want to find out, make sure, first of all, it's comfortable, like we talked about, that they're willing to talk about it. And then think about where you want to film it. So like we talked about, is it at a family event? Is it when they're doing something, an activity? Or is it literally, we're setting up the setting to be filmed, and just sit down and have that chat? And then definitely give them a little guidance of what you want to talk about. And then I would say it's definitely important to maybe not make it, if they're really camera shy and uncomfortable, you don't want to make it a big production deal. Make it really simple. Set something up like what we're doing today, and then just start talking. And then you'll, again, see how comfortable they become with that. And then from the person who maybe wants to share their story but isn't sure, I would say for them, I really like, Tasha, what you said about what is it they maybe want to leave behind and say. They can think about, what is that message that they want to share? What is perhaps an anchor that's been in their family, something that their grandmother told their parents, that was told to them, that they've wanted to pass on? What is that one nugget that when they're gone, they want to be remembered for? And interestingly enough, I just saw on the news this morning, there's a new show on one of the streaming services that has to do with famous people and their last words. And the show doesn't release until the person has passed. And it's them sharing their last words, what they want to be remembered for and what they want to say to the world. Perhaps that's a direction that a person can think about and go to. Mm-hmm. We did actually have a client once do that. They contacted us and said, I want you to come film me. I'm dying. And I have a lot I have to say. And let me tell you, girls, she unloaded, and it was a lot. But she needed to do this. It was healing for her to, I think, prepare for what she knew was inevitable. But she also wanted to answer questions that people might have after she passed. And she also wanted to set the record straight on reasons why she did what she did leading up to that. And I was impressed that she decided to do that. So that's something else someone can think about, do I really want to be on film? The last thing I would say to that, and people do this as well, is they may have an estate plan, they may have a will, a trust, but they may want to put something on film just so their family knows why they did what they did, and to share with them, hey, I love you guys, don't fight, share, I raised you guys to share, and this is my wish, and this is why. And that's a powerful thing they can do too. So there's a lot of things they can think about. Mm-hmm. A lot of it goes back to the why, and how they want it to be received, and what they want done with it.
And then if they are fighting, then she could even put in the video, and I want you to play this over and over again.
That's right.
So if you do
exactly
have an issue that you can't.
Remember what I told you.
That's right.
Hug each other and tell each other you love each other no matter what.
Exactly.
Because you're your brothers or sisters.
Yes, Mom.
Yes, that's right.
Lisa, what I love about this conversation is that it reminds us that visibility doesn't start with a camera. It starts with identity. It starts with believing your experience still carries weight.
And what you've shared today is that confidence on video isn't about performance. It's about presence. It's about stepping into your story with clarity and self-acceptance.
In part 2 of our conversation, we're going to shift from identity to intentionality. And we're going to talk about how video can preserve not just expertise, but essence, and how families and professionals can use it to build lasting legacy.
If you've ever wondered how to turn your lived experience into something that outlives you, you won't want to miss it.
So join us for part 2 of our conversation with Lisa Mars.